A new video. Today is Friday the 22nd of July 2016 and it's 2125 hours Central European time. This video is called Trubshaw's Theorem Revisited. This here is actually take 2 of this video. Already yesterday I recorded such a video, just that unfortunately I found out too late that this here very document that I've opened in Apple's Pages called flow.pages. This is a very document in which I mentioned some of the things pertaining to Trubshaw's theorem had a particular error displayed in writing, not resulting in Trubshaw's theorem being wrong at all because it pertained only to one particular line, but it had an error in writing that I will tell you about a little more detailed a little later on in this video that led to that previous take 1 of this video not being useful. I will approach this second take fundamentally different from how I approached the first take that by now I have deleted again from YouTube, so you will not find the old Trubshaw's Theorem Revisited video on YouTube anymore because I deleted it yesterday. In that first take I touched on a couple of subjects and mentioned a few topics that this video around I will not touch upon. I just want to start off by taking you to YouTube basically. The original Trubshaw's Theorem video, which still is up, is to be found here. I uploaded it on the 14th of July afternoon. Trubshaw's Theorem, Trinary system, flow, 14th July 2016. And something that is very important is that some people don't ever read the description in or under the videos, and that original video unfortunately is of the nature that if you are too lazy to read the description beneath it, you might get some of the things that are mentioned in the video wrong. I did go as far as to write the explanation here into the comments, not the comments, into the video description beneath the original video, but if you can't be asked to go back and read that, maybe the second video here, Trubshaw's Theorem Revisited, might explain some of those things. Nonetheless, should you bother watching the first video, then please, before you watch it, or at the beginning of you watching it, please read through these comments posted, the description posted beneath it. This second video, Trubshaw's Theorem Revisited, my name, by the way, is Wolfgang Trubshaw. In the future, in the new country of Freiland, I will be, amongst other things, COB and CEO of a company called Flow, which stands for Freiland Logics Work Group. That will be a state-owned company. I will be the COB and CEO of that company, and as it is state-owned, we will have the flag of Freiland displayed on our business cards. This is the design of the business card for me personally that we'll have at Flow. Hence, Trubshaw's theorem is my very own theorem and not that of somebody else that I try to explain here. This is my theorem. Trubshaw's theorem, in the first video, I'm not perfectly sure if I made it perfectly clear what Trubshaw's theorem really is, in the sense that what kind of thing it really is. Now you see, Trubshaw's theorem is a mixture of two things. The first thing I associate mostly with the beautiful sport that is ice hockey. In ice hockey, you have something called a body check. Now, admittedly, you have body checks in other sports too, but nowhere are body checks anywhere nearly as nice and as much an art form in themselves as in ice hockey. So, to understand what Trubshaw's theorem is, first start with imagining a really hefty body check in ice hockey. And a second ingredient to your understanding Trubshaw's theorem, consider how there exists the phrase of reality check, right? If reality gives you a reality check, then you probably know what that means. A bit of a reality check. If you think, if you start a company and you think you'll be the biggest company in the world, then chances are your tax fellas or some advisory people or whoever will point out to you that no, you're not really the biggest manager who ever lived, and so on and so forth, and you'll just get a reality check. And now bring the two together, and what you get is a reality body check. Trubshaw's theorem is that kind of thing which resembles reality, giving particular people, namely all those who work in the field that this pertains to, not just a reality check, but something outright as hefty as what in ice hockey would be a body check. I call it a reality body check. That is what Trubshaw's theorem is about, really. Or that is not what it's about, but that is the kind of thing it is. That is one of the first things that you need to understand. What this artwork depicted here means I might touch on a little later in this video. I just wanted this to have it as a still for the video on YouTube, which is why I put it here. Now, let us go straight into affairs. This table you see here, in the first video, this was, as you can see here, Trubshaw's crazy ass claim. If you have watched the first video, you will know that this section in green here is what I read. In a three-dimensional world, it is inefficient, blah, 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 blah. This paragraph here is Trubshaw's theorem, / crazy ass claim / law, whatever you want to call it. Let's call it Trubshaw's theorem. And this table here is what I had open. And the three-dimensional line here, and that's really, Trubshaw's theorem is really not about anything you find written in the cells, but Trubshaw's theorem is about this here line. That is what Trubshaw's theorem is about, this here line. To a certain extent, it also is about what is written, especially in these two cells, and to a lesser extent in the cells above it. But first and foremost, Trubshaw's theorem is about the very fact that here be a fat line, namely in reality. That is what Trubshaw's theorem is about. So, where do we start this? Should you not have watched the first video, Flow is a company that will reintroduce home computer to the world. The concept of home computer, long betrayed, buried and forgotten 25 to 30 years ago, Flow intends to reintroduce home computers to the world. And not just that, we will actually make them trinary computers. Now at first, all of the hardware in it, if you were to open up the case, all of the hardware in it will of course be binary hardware, but we will do a trinary emulation of a machine on that binary hardware. So the Flow computers will actually be trinary machines. And we have done the following. We have, and when I say we, I mean myself as the COB and CEO plus approximately 300 more people. That's what you will have working for Flow when the company is founded. The idea is to set back hypothetically to the year 1979 and have Flow hypothetically design a machine that we would have published, we would have released in the year 1979 to compete against its then home computer contemporaries. Meaning that would have been a machine that would have been around with the early 8-bit home computers of its day. Our machine for the year 1979, which would have been like roughly those that you find written here. I know that MSX1 was not around in 79. I'm just talking about the ballpark performance you would expect of this thing. Basically, in 1979, we would have released a machine that we would have called Trice. That is the name of the machine. That would have been the first product we would have actually released to the market. Prior to that, there would have been research from the mid-60s to the late 70s, but we wouldn't have actually started releasing products until the idea and the doability of something like a home computer manifested, and we have that at 79. So the Trice, which stands for Trinary Computer Evolution, would have been a home computer, hardware-wise, completely 8-bit bits and pieces in the case, but nonetheless, even in 1979, we would have done a home computer that would emulate a trinary machine. So the Trice, for all practical purposes on the user end, was a trinary computer, even though it all ran on binary hardware. In 79 we would have started doing it, and we would have published every few years a new model. And what we do is we don't reverse engineer these models, but the idea is to actually start with the 79 model, so to jump back to 79 hypothetically, and from there on forward engineer all the models to what is called in German the FLOH, F-L-O-H, which stands for Freiland Logic's Heimcomputer, Freiland Logic's home computer. The German word FLOH actually means flea, the little insect. One of the reasons why you have a flea here. And that computer will be published, will be released to the market, currently planned 2019-ish. And all of this design will, all of the engineering and design will happen to make the flea possible. So the flea will stand at the end of a long chain of computers actually being developed. Now, we are not going to build these machines physically, but we will design them on paper and do emulators for them, and actually this side of physically manufacturing them, we will have all of these computers done by the time we get to the flea, which will be our home computer, and we will sell this home computer. It will be a trinary home computer containing nothing but binary hardware, once more, piecemeal, slowly, one after the other building block of a computer will become available in the future in actually trinary fashion hardware already, and you will have a transgression slowly from binary parts to actual trinary parts. But at first, the flea is going to be 100% binary in hardware, but it's going to be a trinary computer. And because we develop a trinary computer, I spend a lot of time with the trinary system. And while doing that, I noted a couple of, I made some generally valid observations that brought me to, once more, this here line. Now, what you have here is in this table is these two columns being about Tritz. This is just Begriff is a German word for name or terminology, and here is Tritanzahl, which means the number of Trits. And the same here with bits, the number of bits. So these two columns are about the binary, and these two columns are about the trinary. Let us start with numeral systems in general. Now, one fundamental thing to understand right, in order to at all understand Trubshaw's theorem, is that it makes all the difference in the world if you use numeral systems to merely do maths in them, or if you actually use numeral systems to hold data and encode information. That makes all the difference in the world. Doing maths with numeral systems really works that way, that numeral systems are completely and utterly interchangeable. It doesn't bloody matter. We humans typically are accustomed to doing most of our maths in the decimal system, but there's no one stopping you from doing your math in any goddamn numeral system you like. As long as you only do maths with it, one numeral system is as good as the other. They all bring, for the advanced mathematicians who care about such, certain idiosyncrasies, but basically they all allow unlimited math practice in all of them, and they don't really differ much when it comes to that. That is, as long as you only do maths with it. The moment you actually utilize a numeral system, and so far in the world of computing, we practice practically exclusively the binary system, and we at Flow will take it to the trinary. So binary and trinary is the two systems that I will talk about here, though everything said holds true for any numeral system beyond that, just that we will keep it at binary and trinary for the most part. It becomes a completely different story once you actually utilize numeral systems to encode information and hold data. The distinction there, to make you better understand how that is a distinction and not just semantics, the distinction is somewhat sort of kind of analogous to the distinction between something being a physical process and a chemical process. If you get at least basic understanding of physics and chemistry, you should understand that a physical process and a chemical process are two very different things. And doing merely maths with a numeral system is a completely different thing, just as different from doing data with it. Okay? So a lot of what I will explain you here about Trubshaw's theorem might be in the vein where you go, what the fuck is he talking about? If you wrongly understand this as if I were talking about mathematical aspects. I am not at all talking about mathematical aspects. As I said before, when it comes to merely doing maths with numeral systems, I don't give a rat's ass which it is, maths doesn't give a rat's ass which it is, the universe doesn't give a rat's ass which numeral system you utilize to do your math in. No one cares, you can use them and interchange them and do whatever, and they don't bloody differ one from the other. But that's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about data and numeral systems being utilized to encode information. That is the first thing you need to understand. Why? Because, and here it's getting a little complicated, because as long as you only do maths with it, maths as such are contrary to data and information, zero-dimensional, which really means non-dimensional. I call it here, I wrote zero-dimensional, it really means non-dimensional. Dimensionality is not an aspect of mathematics. Maths has nothing to do with dimensionality. Oddly enough, not even if you do 3D geometry or something, not even then does maths become dimensional, funnily enough. Mathematics works at zero dimensionality. Data, however, encoded information is subject to dimensionality, contrary to the mere mathematics. Actual data is subject to dimensionality. Now, chances are you are saying, well, any mathematics is, for instance, you might say, I got a calculator here. If I type 1 plus 1 equals 2, you might argue, but that is data. To which I say, yes it is, but only because this is a calculator on a computer, where the maths is dragged to be represented in data. Mathematics as such is not data. The most complex and complicated mathematics as such is not data. The fact that 1 plus 1 makes 2 happens to be fact. That is not data. It generally, universally holds true that 1 plus 1 makes 2. Nothing about that is any data information encoded. It is here in this particular case encoded in bits on my Mac, yes, and thus applied to an application as it is, it actually takes shape in dimensional fashion, because this is basically data being represented, but the underlying math depicted here is zero-dimensional. That is something that you need to understand, okay? The maths itself has nothing to do with any actual data. Now, let us look at a bit, or in the trinary system, a trit. A bit in the binary system is what I called in the original video the SIU, the smallest information unit of that particular numeral system. In the case of the binary system, the smallest information unit in it is 1 bit, a bit. The bit is the smallest information unit. Likewise, in the trinary system, the trit is the smallest information unit. Now, what you need to understand is that this holds true for zero-dimensionality when it comes to mathematics. The fact that not just a bit and a trit, but a, what will come next? With 4 it would be, I think, a quadrat, or whatever you'd call it, and so on and so forth. No matter which numeral system you practice, the fact that they all happen on this level and the fact that it is always one of them, even though they are offering you different width in themselves, the fact that there's always one of them as the smallest information unit for the numeral system practiced is because this here is zero-dimensional. In order to make different numeral systems always give you a required or present number of 1, you have to take it to the 0th power in order to arrive at 1, no matter which numeral system you practice, which is how the 0 found its way into this little formula here. Now I have the formula here. This is what it is really. N to the power of x times n, where n is actually the base number of your numeral system of choice, and x is actually the dimensionality. Now if you look at this table here, let's start here with the binary. This is the binary system, hence you have a 2 here, because that's the base number of the binary system, and a 2 here. And the dimensionality in this case is 0. Here it is 1, here it is 2, here it is 3, as we go into 1-dimensional, 2-dimensional, and 3-dimensional. The same happens here with the trits. Here the base is 3, going through the dimensions up. Your result, no, let's not go up right now. I would like to be able to pause this video at this point. Maybe I should just make this a multi-part video. Let's just stop this video here and make this a multi-part one.